Hello and welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker here with a fairly well-known style of Chinese green tea, Dragonwell, Longjing, depending on what name you're more familiar with. That's what I'm going to be steeping today, and I'm going to use my finger, a clean, fragrance-free finger, to rake in enough to cover the bottom inch to, that looks good, 1.5 inch diameter of my roughly approximately 3 ounce gaiwan. Water's been brought to an early boil, started to rumble, and this is what you'll see with fairly consistent across steepings. Chinese teas or Chinese heritage teas, including Taiwan and beyond, get a Chinese style of steeping, so that's easier to compare. A little bit of water just there above the rim of my lid. Good, yes. Put that off to the side now and introduce this tea. Tell you that it is from Teavivre. This is let me put all the elements there. This is their Superfine, organic Superfine Dragonwell. Okay, so that is 14 grams, available for $4 US dollars. It is from the Tianmu mountain area, so it's not described as the West Lake area. This is from Lin'an County, which is the municipality of Hangzhou, so it's still very close to that West Lake area, although it may not be considered West Lake proper. So Hangzhou, Zhejiang Province. Harvest time April 15th, 2014. Organic status, USDA, EU standard, JAS. So it meets criteria across different locations. Okay, so talk about this tea now. Go into the dry leaf a little bit more. Starting here with the dry. Nice, sweet spinach, sweet green pea, sweet pea flower aromas. So those are nice, and with underneath just a very light, gentler toasted rice, some people would say, or lightly toasted cashew kind of smell going on there. But again, the roasty aspect is soft and gentle. Scooping out a little bit here to look at these leaves. They are pressed flat, like you often see, kind of a grasshopper wing type of shape. Some of these, like the one I picked up here, 2 inches or so in length, more than one leaf there connected. Others, looks like a young individual leaf. These are more on the drab green yellow kind of scale of colors here. You get some highlights that are a bit more of a darker, brighter green. You get leaf portions here. I'm getting pieces that are looks like half a leaf. I get portions that are more than one leaf, but the top halves of all the leaves there have broken or fallen off. So you get a little bit of, it's more of a mixed bag as far as size, shape, and consistency in that area. So I'm going to move now, get into my wet leaf and liquor, angle my lid over to the side so that I can pour. Index finger holds the lid in place. Make sure that's a narrow enough opening that a lot of leaves don't slip through. That should be good. A couple pieces slip through, and that's kind of more to be expected when you have smaller leaves or leaf portions like you do in this scenario. Set my liquor off to the side now and get into the wet leaf. Let me give this a shake like that. Get into the liquor here, or wet leaf. Now, there wasn't a lot of roasty kind of smell coming off of the dry leaf, but here you get more of a lima bean, a bit more of a heat note, cooked lima bean kind of smell. more yes, beanie is the dominant. No, but now in the lid, you do get more of the sweetness. You get a little bit more of that sweet pea flowers, sugar snap pea kind of sweetness coming out a little bit more here in the lid, and that's often the case, that you get the lighter, sweeter, more pleasantly fragrant notes coming off inside the lid. So sometimes it pays to smell down into the bowl and then pick up the lid and smell the inside of the lid as well. Pull out a few leaves, look at those. Had to scrape them off, but one thing I noticed that was stuck was a nice young delicate to perhaps, yeah, a little bit of a portion of a leaf there below, 3 leaves and a bud there. I'm noticing a little bit of blotches, little dabs, little pinpricks of oxidation, a little bit of rust color here and there. No, not an individual leaf, a leaf bud set. So we had 2 leaves and a bud, 1 leaf and a bud. It looks like a longer leaf there. At a glance, I'm wondering, are there different varieties of, slightly different varieties grown on this location and harvested together? Another leaf, bud, 2 leaves in a bud set. Let me see if I can find an example of, yes, here's individual leaf, darker green, looks like it may be a bit more of a more mature leaf compared to, say, that bud there. Fairly fragile, tears fairly easily, so I'll stick that one there. But for the most part, an intact leaf and without oxidation that I can see. No little dabs of oxidation on this particular large leaf. Okay, so let me scrape any of the little pieces that have stuck to the edge here, and I'll set my lid back on top and get into the liquor. Give that a swirl. This has a bright yellow, but deeper than, but a little bit tinged towards the green aspect as well. So that's a nice brighter green than I have seen. Some of them get a little bit more, give it deeper in the yellow color. So that's nice. The toasty rice is there, or I should say, if you have a rice cooker and you cook rice in a rice cooker, sometimes there's a what is called a rice paper, a film that as the water cooks down, it can leave a papery type of crispy, and that's the smell and taste of that is coming out here, along with some sweet corn, boiled sweet corn. So nice, fairly nice, round, not overly intense, but full aromas there. Gentle in that first sip. Let me. Yeah, as this picks up, you get a light astringency, and it's a welcome level of astringency. You want a little bit of dryness because it kind of raises your awareness. It picks up a bit more of those other characteristics. It gets a bit of a savory kind of feel. It gets a bit of that toasty nut to come out. It gets a bit of the some of the sweetness becomes a little bit more obvious, as well as sweet pea flour coming out as well. But a lot of it's not an intense, it's not overly toasty, but still there is a bit of that kind of nutty, cooked rice kind of aspect coming out. Gives a fairly, as it cools and you swish it around a bit more, the texture, the mouthfeel picks up. It gets a little bit more brothy. It gets a bit richer in its experience there. and that holds in the aftertaste. It still has a bit of a light on the edge. It's on the edge of brothy to the extent that it's roasted cashew coming out. Perhaps a little bit of bok choy, stir-fried bok choy coming out as well. So these are nice, not excessively powerful, but intense enough. Well, intense enough and full enough that their presence is clearly stated. So those are nice components there. It's not again, not overly overpowering. It's not that lima bean aroma that I got from the wet leaf. So it's got a bit of a richer feel. Now, there are different degrees depending on the age of the leaf when it's harvested and how the depth of roasting that takes place, and even to a certain degree the variety can affect what kind of characteristics come out. So this is not everyone's preferred profile for Dragonwell. If you want a Dragonwell with a bit of a richer, more intense aspect, or a fuller, brothier kind of aspect to it, this maybe you want to check out, because it does those things without becoming excessively stringent or harsh. I would give this tea. I'd give this tea also a 91. Positive components there. Again, balanced, rounded components coming out. So come back to Walker Tea Review to find those teas that express the profile that you're looking for, that do it in a full, rich, meaningful way. Subscribe to the newsletter so that you can have tea reviews like this delivered into your inbox. You can also subscribe to the member content, a separate section wherein you will find more in-depth articles. I've looked at things like the different varieties of tea that are used to produce Dragonwells, what those differences are, places where you can get those different varieties together and kind of compare them side by side. And all those things are found at Walker Tea Review.